I think if you ask most people, they would consider Vancouver a pretty gay-friendly city. But an incident on Friday at the office of MLA Spencer Chandra Herbert proves danger still lurks. Have a listen to what happened at his office.
So on Friday, shortly before noon, a man entered into my West End constituency office demanding to see me as his MLA. He was outraged about a rainbow flag flying across the street at the West End Community Centre, expressed his hate for it, as well as the rainbow flag flying in my own window here in the office. The man then proceeded to shout a number of homophobic slurs at my constituency assistant, punched a hole in my office door, and punched my assistant. I arrived at that point. I'd been working in the back of the office. I heard the bang, rushed up to the front of the door. As I arrived, the man was leaving the scene. He did not walk far. I phoned the police, and thankfully they were able to arrive very quickly and arrest the man.
And joining us now for more on this from our downtown studio, Dara Parker, the Executive Director of Community, and Tim Richards, President of Vancouver Pride. Thanks for joining us, you two.
Happy to be here.
Dara, I bet you've got a whole bunch of stories just like that one.
I'm smiling, but I don't know why, because unfortunately I do. And this is the extreme, overt homophobia that sometimes takes place, but I also see hundreds of microaggressions that take place towards the queer community on a regular basis. So I'm saddened and disappointed by what's happened, but unfortunately I'm not shocked.
No. Do you think this is one of those cases, though, that it's got a silver lining because we're drawing, attention to the fact that this still exists?
I like making lemonade just as much as you, Jill, so sure, there's a silver lining in that, yes, it gives us an opportunity to talk about this and to remind people that recognition of same-sex marriage wasn't a panacea for ending homophobia and transphobia. In fact, people in the queer community continue to experience discrimination on a regular basis, but I am so sorry that Spencer Chandra Herbert and his assistant had to go through this to prove that.
Mm-hmm. Tim, do you have other examples of this kind of incident happening recently?
Recently? I think, as Dara says, this is tragic. These are things that happen daily to people. There's a continuum of homophobia, as Dara also said. Unfortunately, this is the reality for too many people day to day.
Do people live in fear?
In too many places around the world, people live in fear, and I myself, people check themselves to make sure that they don't necessarily stand out. There's points in time if I'm walking down the street and I want to hold my fiance's hand, I don't necessarily feel safe. So, it's one of these realities that you live with, and often you forget that unfortunately we live this way, and sometimes in fear, and it's really unfortunate.
Dara, do you think those of us who aren't in the gay, lesbian, bi, transgendered community have just assumed that it's sort of all sorted out now and that Vancouver's a really safe city to be in?
That's the most common attitude I get from usually urban, progressive-minded folks who feel like, hey, aren't we kind of past this? I rarely feel that sort of assumption from people within the community. Just like Tim said, I think people are often checking their behavior and self-closeting in really minor ways. You might not even realize it. If it's not holding your partner's hand while you're walking down Granville Street on a Friday night at midnight, that's maybe one example of a place that doesn't feel safe at all for the queer community. Or similarly, changing the gender pronouns that you use when you're meeting a new colleague at work. And so all of a sudden using gender-neutral pronouns because you don't want to immediately out yourself. So that kind of behavior is really common.
Mm-hmm. Do you tend to do that, Dara?
Well, now I'm a super queer, so being gay for pay.
What's a super queer?
You're looking at her, Jill. I'm joking. I'm being tongue-in-cheek because I work as a professional queer. I'm a queer identified woman. I work in the community. I work for a queer organization. I speak on behalf of queer issues all the time. So I would suggest that I do that less and less. But I've been at Community for 2 years, and prior to working at Community, absolutely I did. In fact, I can remember self-closeting at an office in Metro Vancouver in my first week of work when A well-meaning colleague, I assume, approached me and asked me if I had a husband or a boyfriend, and I didn't, and I said as much, but I didn't take it beyond that question. And so I had a partner at the time, I had a girlfriend, and I wasn't ready to out myself in that immediate moment. So I think that's common.
Talk to me, if you will, about the use of the word queer.
Sure. Not a word without controversy. It's unfortunately, we don't all get together at the annual gay meeting and have consensus on which language we're going to use this year. But I use the word for two reasons. I use it as an umbrella term for anyone in the lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans community, but also a number of other non-normative sexual orientations or gender identities. So for example, asexual community, two-spirited community, the genderqueer community, etc. And so because there are so many identities, and you're probably familiar with looking at a really long acronym that might seem confusing or intimidating, we really like queer because we see it as more philosophically inclusive, that anyone who wants to fit under the queer umbrella can. And then the second piece, being a professional super queer, and if you talk about these issues 100 times a day, like I do, it becomes much more pragmatic. So that's why I like the word, and I personally identify as a queer woman. But I'd add the caveat that the most important part around language is understanding that there is no right answer. Everyone gets to choose their own word, their own way to identify, and maybe as advice for allies in the community or even people within the community, it's important to reflect back the language that people choose themselves. So I use all the words. I kind of like them all.
Agreed.
Tim, I don't want to cause any controversy between the two of you, but do you embrace the word queer like Dara does?
Personally, I do. However, I know there's many people in the community who do not like that word and tend to be demographically older members of the community, and that word was used against them.
Probably lived in an era when it was very unpleasant,
it was a very hateful
negative
word. Exactly.
I know Dara uses it all the time, and it kind of surprises me because I remember it from back when it was not pleasant at all. I want to talk to you about the rainbow flag because, in part, that seems to have what sparked this issue. I find it kind of ironic because the the mayor of Toronto also wanted the rainbow flag taken down with regards to the Olympics. Did you get the sense that he was masking his potential homophobia in terms of the Olympics and making up sort of a different excuse, but really he just wasn't comfortable with the rainbow flag and what it stood for? Rob Ford, I'm talking about.
I think, we talked about this earlier, there's different forms of homophobia, and I think that's a subtle example. I believe that...
I don't even think it's subtle. I have to interrupt you. I don't even think that's mass, Jill. I think Rob Ford has come out as overtly homophobic with the flag incident at City Hall.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I cut you off, but...
No, thank you.
She's queer. She's queer and loud.
Fantastic, I think.
That's the super queer in me.
So this is another example of homophobia. So it takes many different forms. Ironically, the color green on the flag means creating safe space. So it's one of those important colors. The actual rainbow flag was created by Gilbert Baker 35 years ago, and he gave each of the colors in the rainbow flag a different meaning. So one of the things that we hope to do over time is to create more and more safe space around the world. And certainly, Vancouver's, we believe, one of those havens, but examples like Friday certainly go against that grain.
And what's particularly disturbing about the incident on Friday is that it happened in the West End, in a perceived safe space within the community. And so we know these kinds of incidents take place across BC, across Canada, but to have it happen in a backyard where we, feel a more overt presence, that's particularly disturbing.
And the thing that scared me more was that if this had been the United States, that person might have been carrying a weapon. It's really quite shocking because you kind of never know where that hate is going to go, do you?
No, you don't. And speaking of the U.S., we know that oppressive legislation is coming to pass this week in Arizona, where legislators are adopting a piece where you could refuse to serve gays or lesbians based on your personal religious belief, which is horrifying.
I know. If you're a baker, you don't have to bake a cake for a gay wedding.
So you saw that meme on the internet?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay.
But I will go look for it now.
You're going to go look for it now, yes.
All right. Well, I know we've been sort of relatively lighthearted about this, but it is a very serious topic. Really quickly, we've just got a few seconds left. Tim, what's the answer here? Is it just basically we need to continue to educate people?
Absolutely. Dialogue's the key. We have to continue to educate people. We need to encourage people to have conversations. We need to encourage leaders in all organizations to create safe environments. We have to encourage parents to talk to their children and children to talk to their parents. And as we were talking earlier, to create those safe environments so that people feel that they can live an authentic life. Recently, NFL hopeful player Sam, yeah, who came out is a great example of that, found that opportunity and now living an authentic life, and is a great example for so many youth around the world.
Yeah, for sure. All right, I got to stop you there. We're out of time. Tim Richards and Dara Parker, thank you both. We'll see you again.
Thanks.
Great, thanks.